exciting is this, Chaluch? Here we are at the beautiful Cadillac Ranch right here. And I'm excited because, first of all, I walked in, man. Did you see the stuff that's available to eat?
Yeah. I noticed when Chad, the general manager, we asked him, "What's good?"
What do you want? What do you want to get?
You wanted him to continue.
Absolutely.
It wasn't enough. The steaks and the chops. The burger sliders. Not enough. You kept wanting more.
Well, you know what? Like I said, the good lady Faith, she cooked up some mean fish last night, but fish only goes for so long, and you got to get to the red meat because I am a carnivore.
Right.
Anyhow, welcome to the show, everybody, and what a great opportunity it is to be here, and we're so grateful. Thank you to the good people here at Cadillac Ranch and Chaluch. Pregame meal.
Right.
Pregame meal is so very important because, as you know, as former players, that when you had that pregame meal, that was the last lock and load moment of normality before you became abnormal.
Right.
And then you proceeded to go into that frame of mind, that reference, that walk in that zone down towards that last little bit before the game. It's about 4.5 hours before kickoff that you'd have the pregame meal. And such as it was, you'd finish up by coming out with a little bit of the script that you'd have. You're going to run the first series of plays. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of pregame meal here today. And we're going to talk about the Steelers kicking off the 2015 season with the New England Patriots in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium come Thursday night.
You know, pregame meal, my favorite pregame meal was probably when we were playing the Giants, 85. They had an opportunity to set the NFL record for sacks. And we're sitting there, it's Mike Webster, Hall of Famer, you and me, and Ray Penny, and we're sitting with our quarterback, Mark Malone.
Right.
And we're getting ready for, we're sitting there eating, and we're getting ready to go to the, take the bus to Giant Stadium.
Right.
And we're talking about their guys. You're talking about Leonard Marshall, who you're playing against.
Right.
I'm talking about George Martin and
Lawrence
Carl
Taylor
Banks, Lawrence Taylor. And
my.
And all of a sudden, Webby goes, we can't block these guys. It's like playing a Pro Bowl. Leonard Marshall, Pro Bowler. Lawrence Taylor, Pro Bowler. You got Harry Carson, Pro Bowler. You got Jimmy Burt, the nose tackle. He's a Pro Bowler. George Martin been in a Pro Bowl. Carl Banks.
It's a group of assassins on the other side.
Yeah, we're saying, he goes, well, there's no way we can block these guys. And the funny thing about this, I'm watching Malone, our quarterback, get more and more pale as the conversation's going on. And then I go, Mark. I see the panic. I go, Mark, relax. Webby's kid, he goes, no, I'm not. There's no way we can block these guys. Man, he goes, my advice to you, get rid of the ball quick.
Throw the ball quickly.
1, 2, ball off.
I loved it because I remember watching as Mark was trying to eat his eggs and bacon.
Right.
And the swallows became greater, where it was like an effort to try to swallow.
Yeah.
I remember before the 84 AFC Championship game, if you remember, we're down in Miami playing the Miami Dolphins at the old Orange Bowl, right? So we're going to play the great Danny Marino and Cass down there. And I remember being so nervous for that game. At the pregame meal, I ate, and you know what an eater I am any other time of the day, right? But I managed to get down 1/4 of one pancake.
Right.
That's all I could stomach. I mean, literally, my stomach was in such knots. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have our pregame meal. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to go to break right now because we're going to come back with the State of the Steelers right after this. Now, I have to say, as you view this Pittsburgh Steelers version circa 2015, there's a lot of change. This is probably circa, yeah.
Around?
I think that's using, the proper Queen's English, my friend.
So what do you know to Queen?
Don't you remember when we was over in London a couple of years ago?
Oh, that's right. You
we
yelled.
went by the palace.
You were yelling at the palace.
Well, I wasn't sure. You know what? I come to think of it, the flag wasn't up, which meant she was not in residence. So, anyhow, using let's get back to the fact that this version of the Steelers. First of all, we had the final cuts, but over the weekend there were several different versions that came out.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was what were some of your surprises, if there were? Did you have some disappointments? And what's your overview?
Look, one of the things that's very apparent is when you hear Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin talking about the roster, and that they are going to always work to make this a better roster. That tells you that they're going to make changes as needed. Well, the changes started fast and furious and early in camp. When a guy was not cutting the mustard, they released him right away. They went out and got somebody else. And so there have been, although in many ways, some of the surprises, I really thought Ian Wild, the kid from Mercyhurst and Baldwin High School, was going to make this team as a special teams guy. Well, they released him. I thought Kevin Fogg, the kid that they signed to the practice squad late last year from Liberty, who was just huge in camp, they released him. Josh Harris was another guy that I thought, wow, Josh Harris has got to be the backup running back to DeAngelo Williams. And when he didn't play the way they thought he should, they released him. And so the fact that they've released draftees, they released Anthony Chicklow after he made the team. Then they released him. Now they signed him to the practice squad.
Duran Grant as well.
So I think the fact – so the surprise is we're not standing pat, and we're going to make sure we've got the best 53 guys on this football team. And it is like an amoeba. It is constantly changing. And, we use the expression, they are a work in progress. Well, I'm telling you what, it's literal this year. So those are kind of the things that have caught me a little off.
Yes, I would tend to agree. And I really let's take a look at first of all, the offensive line. One of the things that is kind of really caught my eye was the fact they cut Doug Legursky, then brought him back. And I had a feeling something like that might happen because of this. You've got Cody Wallace, but as a backup, you've got Chris Hubbard and Doug Legursky. And basically, Doug's a better center than Chris Hubbard, and Chris Hubbard's a better guard than Doug Legursky. So you've got a problem there in the sense of you've got to have two guys for the one job that it had become on game day. The other thing is you've now gone to Alejandro Villanueva is your swing tackle.
Right.
There is no other tackle, really.
Yeah, Mitchell Van Dyke had a couple of screws and a rod put in his – he actually had the same injury as Dermontti Dawson, the same injury as Marquise Pouncey.
Oh, Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah,
okay.
and so I saw him yesterday. He was on crutches, leg in a cast, and he said, I'm going to be back about the same time Pounces. And the kind of the tough part about that is Mitch Van Dyke was at least was making a show for his spot as possibly the swing tackle. He wasn't playing as good as Alejandro, but
it was another body,
right.
And that's one of the things that for Alejandro, you look at this guy. He has been this guy that came up as a project, and you think about it, to go from 185-pound West Point wide receiver, then to an Army Ranger, then coming off and being with the Eagles on the practice squad, and now the Steelers, to go from being 185 pounds to 340 pounds.
That's
ginormous.
Let's set that straight. That was a freshman. And he put weight on. He was a big wide receiver in the wishbone.
Well,
he was
he's
still
6'8".
Right. But I'm just saying it almost makes it sound like he went from 185 to 340.
No. This is a long.
Yeah, right. He played
he
played defensive end. He played tight end. He played left tackle, and then he was signed by the Philadelphia Eagles as a defensive end. And that's when he started bulking up. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'd have brought him here if he'd hooked up with me. I'd brought him up to the Cadillac Ranch right here, and he would have set himself up with some nice chops.
Well, Wolf, one of the things you were talking about is the kid is very raw. So the beauty of Mike Munchak working with him is that he is a really literally a glob of clay that he is molding that doesn't – here's the good part about that. The bad part is he's raw. The good part is he's got no bad habits to break and to reteach. So Mike has done a great job teaching this guy, and he, the fact that he's 6'9", and that he's 340, and he's got some serious long arms, that's what you need as an offensive tackle. And, as I was watching film on the tackles at New England, I'm thinking, I think Alejandro's as good as those guys right now. I mean, he doesn't have the experience, but his technique, or Sodler.
Sodler, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But flip it over to the defensive line. Now, the defensive line was problematic. I mean, besides the top three, when you go with Steve McClendon, you got the Cam Hayward. Yeah. Then you also have Stephon Tuitt going 4, 5, and 6 because you know that there was a little disgruntleization as far as Cam Thomas and L.T. Walton was the guy who grabbed the 6th spot, and, of course, Daniel McCullers. Big Dan, though he had a good start to training camp, also seemed to not be picking it up quick. He had a slower rollout when he came off of that hammy injury, and he's not seemed to really pick it up at the point that I thought he was at earlier.
Everyone's worrying about the secondary. My concern is the depth of D-line.
Right.
To your point, right now Cam Thomas is your number 4 guy. Right now Daniel McCullers is your number 5 guy, and neither one of those guys shined Like we expect. We saw them early in practice. You were talking about. We were like excited. We're going, hey, these guys, this is going to be good. There's going to be a nice 6-man rotation. Well, there isn't. So that means that Stephon Tuitt better get that ankle healed. Cam Hayward is going to be Cam Hayward. He's just a terrific player. Steve McClendon has got to stay healthy. And if Cam Thomas is called upon, Daniel McCullers are called upon, they have to play with the intensity, and more importantly than the intensity, the consistency of playing play in and play out, week in and week out. And as backups, they better be ready when they're called upon.
Well, you move it over to the wide receivers. You got yourself DHB, you got Antonio Brown, you got Marcus Wheaton. Those are the primary guys. Of course, you got Martavis Bryant. Now, he's now going to be, leaving the Steelers for a period of a month. But those three guys right now, if I look at these guys, first of all, you look at Antonio Brown. He's just the best of the best. Marcus Wheaton has quietly had what I thought is his most productive training camp. He's only had a couple. But, the fact is he has really been, in my mind, a lot more aggressive, a lot more exciting as far as moving towards the ball and capable of showing some great things. DHB, to me, is going to be a guy. It's going to be interesting because they're really going to need him to produce in the first couple of games, at least. Certainly produce something to draw a little bit of coverage from, of course, Marcus and from Antonio.
Well, and if he doesn't draw coverage, he's got to take advantage of when he's open. And,
right.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. You were talking about Antonio Brown. He is just the best. And when your most talented player, your most gifted guy is also your hardest worker, well, now you have a standard for everyone else to aspire to. When Antonio Brown takes the field, he takes it as if nobody has ever seen him play. I heard Gordie Howe say that about Wayne Gretzky, and it applies to Antonio Brown. When he takes the field, it's as if no one has seen him play, and he's got that chip to show everybody what he's made of. Now, you watch Marcus Wheaton, he's following Antonio Brown around.
Right.
So the extra reps at the jugs machine, catching 100 extra balls. I was watching Marcus Wheaton in practice yesterday, and the toe tap on the outcuts that we see Antonio Bryant do so well and so often. Darius Hayward-Bay, as you put in, comes into camp the best shape of his life. Literally the best shape of his life. He's down 4 pounds. Now, that doesn't seem a lot, but his body is like resculpted. So now not only does he have the speed that made him the 11th pick of Al Davis and the Oakland Raiders, but he's also got the work ethic and the fact that he can run all day. And you heard what Ben said about him. I love Darius Hayward-Bay because he never gripes, he never complains. Special teams, he's going to do it. The dirty work of blocking in the run game as a wide receiver, he is going to do it. So don't be surprised if Darius Hayward-Bay comes up big. And when I say big, not Antonio Brown big, maybe not Martavis Bryant big, but big in moving the chains this week and until Martavis Bryant comes off the suspended list.
Well, the other guy then, of course, that we have to include there is Sammy Coates, because Sammy Coates is such a physical structure on him. I mean, the dude's wide-shouldered.
Yeah.
He's muscled out. He's studly.
Yeah.
Now, he's also shown not the greatest propensity to really get after it as a gunner or on the kickoff team, but he's got capabilities, and unless if he wants to draw a Sunday helmet, he's going to have to pick it up as far as the special teams. But he's a guy who, to me, he's got some long ball qualities. He's kind of in the same mold almost of Martavis Bryant as of last year. Now, we all know that it took Martavis up until the 7th game of the season to jump in.
Right.
And I would say probably Sammy Coates looks to me like a little bit longer.
Yeah, he is a great-looking athlete, to your point. And he can flat out fly, but he's more of a linear guy. He's not an in and out of your cuts guy, much like, to your point, Martavis Bryant. And he's got to be a special teams guy. He's got
to pay rent that way.
Right.
I mean,
because I'll tell you what, Tyler Murphy is going to be a guy that's saying, "Hey, I'll run under kicks. I'll do that. I'll whatever it takes to get on the field." And I think the problem becomes is if you're a guy that's been a great player your whole career in college, you're never asked to play special teams unless it's being a return guy. Now you come here into the National Football League to get a helmet on Sunday, you better be able to run down under kicks and show your worth. Make them make yourself indispensable to the team come Sunday.
A flying El Kabonger can make you very noticeable if you go out and break it up. Let me flip over to the secondary because you look at this, and, you got Shamarko Thomas, you got Mike Mitchell, you got Will Allen, you got Robert Golden.
Right.
A pretty good quartet of safeties. Unfortunately for Shamarko, he's had a few busted plays in the preseason that is pointed out to be negative more than positive simply because of the fact you're going in to play Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. So Will Allen's the guy that's jumped up there, but certainly I got to tell you, I mean, Shamarko's looked really good at points in time, and he's had a couple of flying busts, which, of course, when you're the last line of defense, you really can't afford. So to me, it seems like a pretty smart move. You go with Will Allen and Mike Mitchell. Will Allen, who has seen Tom Brady on several occasions.
Yes, Will Allen is the stabilizer. In 12 years,
he's the whoopee, if you ask me. You got your whoopee at night. You got to have something comfortable.
Yeah, well, I've never had a whoopee.
When you're a little buckaroo.
I've never had a whoopee.
Oh, come on. When you were over in Istanbul, Turkey, when you was first born, you're over in Istanbul.
They don't give kids blankets in Istanbul.
You didn't have a whoopee?
No.
Oh, man, no wonder.
Absolutely not. That's why
why you're such a cynic.
That's why I'm so messed up. So here's the deal with one of the things you got to realize is that Will Allen brings an awareness that, is he as fast and as athletic as Shamarko Thomas? No. But he is a guy that plays the game with his eyes and plays the game with his head. And he is the kind of guy that you want on that defense. Shamarko Thomas, I think, is going to be a terrific player one day. But right now, starting against the New England Patriots, you can't wait on him. You cannot afford the growing pains that you will experience with Shamarko Thomas. Cortez Allen is not starting. And they're going to be starting Antoine Blake, who Antoine took his place last year. And the Steelers have done everything they can to give the spot back to Cortez Allen. Now, part of it has been the play, part of it's been the sore knee. But what it's saying is we're going to go with the young guy, with Antoine Blake. Your third corner is going to be Brandon Boykin. He's made the order for that sub corner or the slot corner that's your third defensive back. Hey, let's face it, the three wideout system is the number one system used in the entire National Football League. The New England Patriots do that. Their number two is two tights, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But you need Boykin, you need Antoine Blake, and you need Will Gay. Right now, those are your top three corners, and that's what you want against Tom Brady in New England day after tomorrow.
Well, let's flip it over back to the offensive side of the ball because as I look at the running backs, really they produced the biggest surprise. You got two fullbacks.
Right.
I mean, I remember under B.A., Bruce Arians, there were no fullbacks.
Right.
And now you got two fullbacks. You got Rosie Nix, a converted defensive lineman who had to go on a weight loss program, Gadzooks, to be able to slim down and get into a running back outfit. Yeah. And then, of course, you got Will Johnson, who I think, Will. Here's the thing about Will. I still think he could play tailback. You look at him. They lined him up against Carolina the last preseason game. And, the guy looks like he's comfortable there. He doesn't look like he's a misfit there. Now, Rosie Nix is one of those slobber knocker. I mean, he gets in a guy's grill, and he puts it right down the center of a guy at a high velocity. Yeah. And you really got to love the guy. I mean, saw the blocked punt. You were describing it was a pass rush.
Right.
I was talking to him after the game. I said, Tunch says, it was a swim. It was an uppercut, and you pass rushed the punter, and you blocked it. That, to me, was probably the biggest surprise that you go with two fullbacks.
When you look at it, remember, it's not Will Johnson fullback. It's Will back. The Will back plays the H-back. The Will back plays fullback. The Will back plays tight end. The Will back plays the tailback, which I was watching him run yesterday, and he looked very natural at the tailback position. You love Roosevelt Nix because he's going to make an impact on special teams. We already saw that last week in Carolina. And to your point, he is a legitimate pounding fullback. And I say this very affectionately. He's a legitimate cement head.
Right.
He's going to hit you with that thing.
And remember, that's a term of fondness.
Of endearment.
Endearment, yes.
And so when he every time he'll – that he leads up on the linebackers, inside or outside, it is a big-time collision, and that's what you want not only in goal line short yardage, but you want it in the field at times. When you have to finish off a team physically, you want to put the fullback in there, and you want the big old cement head right there.
Naturally, of course, you've got Lev Bell. D'Angelo Williams is a guy that, we've watched him for years down in Carolina, 9 years. The cat's been doing it big time. What I didn't know was he's still got the jump in his legs. He's got the veteranship that you're looking for. He's also got a sweet set of hands. I mean, he can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. There's a lot of good things here. Is he Lev Bell? No, but I say that this is a better fit than it was with LeGarrette Blount a year ago.
I will say this. Out of all the replacements, whether it's DHB for Martavis Bryant, Cody Wallace for Marquise Pouncey, and D'Angelo Williams for Le'Veon Bell, that's the one that I'm most comfortable with. When the Steelers played the Carolina Panthers this past week, and I know a bunch of their coaches, and I was talking to Pete Hainer, the tight ends coach, and Ron Rivera, the head coach, before the game. They speak about D'Angelo in glowing terms. Now, they had to let him go, cost-cutting, and we understand
it's the nature
that.
of the NFL.
It's the NFL, but they loved him. I was talking to Eugene Robinson, their color analyst, former Seattle Seahawk and former Atlanta Falcon, former Carolina Panther. He was telling me that D'Angelo Williams' work ethic and toughness is off the charts, and we've noticed that. Every time he touches the ball, he runs to the goal line. You talked about his speed. Man, he's got the speed to bounce it outside. You talked about his shiftiness. He can make you miss. And you talk about his power. He can run over you. So he is going to be the perfect complement to Le'Veon Bell. And while Lev is down, he's going to do a great job toting the mail.
Well, before we go to break, and next up will be the On-Deck Pregame Meal scouting report, what we want to do is just take a look at the quarterback situation, which Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Vick, Landry Jones. Landry Jones is a little lumpified.
Yeah.
But certainly,
he didn't practice yesterday. He was in street clothes. Got the little concussion.
Yes. Well, he got a little dinger.
Yeah.
But you know what? He who's been without a dinger.
Yeah.
Well,
Bruce Gradkowski said, he said, I was talking to Bruce yesterday. He had surgery, and he was at practice, watching practice. He goes, Touch, how many concussions did you have? And I went, official? And he said, yeah. And I went, I'm not sure.
You're not sure because I can't remember. All right, we'll be right back. Well, first of all, Ben, real quick.
Yes. Ben, only.
Terrific.
Let me tell you this. Let me just say this about Ben. Right now, going into New England, if you told me, Tunch, you could have any quarterback to go against Brady in New England, you could have Sean Payton, you could have Aaron Rodgers, you can have Peyton Manning, you could have Eli Manning, or you could have Ben. I'm taking Ben. Right now, Ben is absolutely at his best. From a physical standpoint, he doesn't look like he hasn't lost anything on his fastball, and boy, he sure still can drive the ball. His toughness, unparalleled in the National Football League. And here's the thing that I love about Ben. He loves this kind of stage.
Yeah.
The fact that everybody's saying, oh, wow, Tom Brady's coming back and New England's going to be unbeatable with him. I believe just like when Andrew Luck came in last year with the Indianapolis Colts, and everyone's going on about Andrew Luck, and Ben never said that, but we were saying that. What's Ben, chopped liver?
Right.
Well,
he elevates to another level.
He elevates, and so in New England, in this circumstance, I would not take any quarterback over Ben.
All right, that's a wrap. Okay, we're going to go to break right now with the On-Deck Pregame Meal scouting report coming right up after this.
On deck for the Pregame Meal scouting report, the New England Patriots.
I like that. That's a good start. Chiluch, rolling into Gillette Stadium. Now, remember, you and I were both there on the field when they opened Gillette.
Yeah.
And they had the very first game there, and that was a raucous, wild crowd.
Right.
This is a crowd, when you think about Tom Brady, the whole fiasco of Deflategate, the unveiling of the World Championship banner and so forth, all the ceremonial pomp and everything else, I say this is going to be as crazy and as a wild a stadium as you can imagine.
I think even more than last time, and I think the reason is it's all the frustration and the way New England Patriot fans have felt that they've had to defend their team and defend their quarterback. And so all this emotion, all this frustration, the whole Deflategate saga and now the victory in the courts, I think it is going to be crazy. And they're, like to your point, they're going to put out the new banner, and they're coming back to defend their – and this will be a level of noise that I'm not sure it'll be the loudest, but it's going to be in that conversation. It will be electric, and it's going to be the key for the Steelers is going to be to weather the storm early. When you get crowd noise like that, someone usually jumps offside. If the fans feel like they can impact the snap count, they will get louder. And so you've got to take them out of that. You've got to take them. You've got to take the crowd out of the game. And one of the things that I was thinking about, now I don't know how they're going to do it, but these are the kind of games. The one nice thing about the no huddle is it doesn't give the fans an opportunity to keep building to the crescendo.
The snap count. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the back and forth.
Right.
They don't have the intense, and they're going to go. They'll go silent, obviously. They always do.
You're speaking the truth, because as I went back and I was looking at the 2011 game when at Heinz Field the Steelers defeated the Patriots, the key to the game was the 40 minutes time of possession of the Steelers. Steelers offense was out there all day. The Patriots offense couldn't get rolling on anything. You had the Gronkowski, who of course had some big numbers, decent numbers, but Brady he threw for less than 200. But certainly when I look at this, the key was Ben Roethlisberger, and this is Ben versus Brady.
Right.
It really is. Okay, you're talking about 36 of 50 for 365 yards, 2 TDs. Everything was out of his hand in 1.8 to 2.2 seconds.
Right.
They no-huddled. They went down the field, and he kept throwing the short, intermediate routes, keeping him off balance. So as we look at that, just as an overview, I'm just saying time of possession is going to be huge, because the more you can put Brady's fanny on the bench, the better the opportunity for the Steelers to win are.
And if you want to watch kind of a nice little kind of model for how to beat these guys, all you got to do is go back to week 4 last week when the Kansas City Chiefs played the New England Patriots. Now, it wasn't Kansas City, and that's a tough place to win.
Talking about last year.
Yeah, last year. But Kansas City –
it was like 41-14 or something like that.
They spread them out,
right,
and they ran the ball against them. And that was with Vince Wilfork, who is gone. This defense has undergone a lot of changes. And I think, you got Dante Hightower coming back, he and Jared Mayo been those stacked starting inside linebackers when they play the 3-4. Now, because of everybody running 3 wideouts, what I saw throughout preseason was that stack 4-2. When you go 3 wides, they're going to go 4-2. And Jamie Collins and Jared Mayo have been the starting linebackers. And Jared Mayo, who's really an outside guy coming into the league, tall guy, long-armed guy. And I didn't think he had the strength, more of an athletic guy than a tough guy, but he's actually not bad. He can,
I thought their linebackers weren't bad. When you look at the Ninkovich, who's a pain in the butt.
Right.
He's always around pestering you. You look at Gerard Mayo, then you've got Jamie Collins, who surprised me.
Right.
Jamie Collins really throws his body around in a way that he has no regard for his own personal safety or anybody else's.
He contours his body to make plays. It's kind of funny. He takes on the blocks a lot better than you would think. And one of the things that they like to do is they'll use their outside linebackers as down guys. You're talking about Nimkovich. Well, he'll play defensive end. He'll also play outside linebacker.
Right.
Sometimes you're not quite sure where he's at. They through free agency, they got Jabal Sheard from Cleveland.
Interesting pickup.
And he
looks. What is it about wearing a Patriots uniform makes a guy look a lot more dynamic than a Cleveland Browns uniform?
I think part of it is the guys around it, but I think there's something else. He is more of a natural down 4-3 defensive end, and he's less comfortable as an outside linebacker, although he can do it. But he is more. I think he's just more comfortable, and they do a nice job of flipping him, and then really kind of the best player on the defense is Chandler Jones,
right?
And he's the right defensive end, but they'll move him inside, and he is for a guy that's only 260. He rushes well as a defensive tackle, and so think about this. At times, they got Nimkovich, Jabal Sheard, and Chandler Jones all on the defensive line at the same time. All 3 of those guys are going to jet upfield. Nemkovich is, to your point, pesty. He's just a guy that keeps working to get to the quarterback.
He is such a smart guy, and he finds his way into leakages. One of the things that I noticed about Chandler Jones, and if I had to, my pick for the what I like to call the classic Jurassic Park meat-eater matchup, that is, two dinosaurs going at it. It would be Raptor versus Raptor, Kelvin Beachum, Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones, up the field type guy, has a nice outside slap to an uppercut that he works high shoulder on the beach. So I'm sitting there looking at this. I think that's going to be a key matchup right there. The other thing that I noticed about Chandler Jones, and you spoke about when he lined up on the inside, but even when he lines up a defensive end and he runs a twist, he's got a nice way of picking his way through the garbage, fallen bodies, holes, what have you, and getting up in the quarterback's face.
Easley's good at that too. Easley's really good as the trail guy. I was shocked at how quick he was.
You're right about that.
As a trail guy. But really, when you look at it, if you can run the ball on these guys, and I think you can. Dante Hightower's coming off a torn labrum, and he hasn't played much. He did practice once camp started in the joint practices they had, but I'm not sure he's quite ready. I mean, he is your thumper. If the Steelers go two tights, don't be surprised if they bring in Dante Hightower. If they go three wides as their base offense, which I'm sure they will, I think we're going to see we will see more of Jamie Collins and Jared Mayo. But if you look at that secondary, they're strong at safety. Patrick Chung and McCourty. Now, they're so bad at corner, they lost their top three. They lost Harrington, Browner, and Rivas in the offseason. Right. Malcolm Taylor was the starter from day one, and, of course, he was the hero of the Super Bowl, big pick. But the other side, they've been rotator guys, and we've seen McCourty lining up at corner. I think they're going to have trouble matching up, and they're still running a lot of man coverage. They're still trying to do what they normally do. I'm just not sure they have the horses for that. So I really like this matchup for the Steelers from the standpoint of being able to do what you said you want to see them do, and that's control the clock, move the chains. But they also have to come away with points. You can't trade threes for sevens against New England.
You're very correct. Now, if we flip that over to the other side, take a look at the Patriots offense. Obviously, it begins and ends with Tom Brady because he is – now, Tom Brady, in my opinion, just watching some of the preseason games, he has not looked that good, nor has that offensive line looked good.
Well, let's start with Brady because it does begin and end with him. Here's what I love about what Dick LeBeau said about Tom Brady. Tom Brady sees everything, he feels everything, and the distance from Tom Brady's hand to the receivers is short. And I love
that. Almost sounded zen-like.
Yeah,
he sees everything, he feels everything.
He does things. One of the things when he's taking the snap, when you watch him, he's reading the coverage as the ball is being snapped to him, and he really is remarkable. And he's got that gun. Now, having said all of that. To your point, he has not looked sharp in camp. He has not looked sharp in preseason. You've got to think that this thing that's been hanging over his head has had its effect. Not only that, he hasn't had Danny Amendola much in training camp. Julian Edelman has been sparse. Gronk has not played in one preseason snap.
Right.
And Gronk usually doesn't. They bring up Scott Chandler. They got him from the Bills, and they love him. So we're going to see a lot of I think we're going to see a lot of two tight ends, two wide receiver stuff. And the running game everything has changed. And they got two rookies starting at guard, Mason and Jackson, 2 fourth-round draft picks. And those guys, I don't think are ready.
And you don't
shocked.
believe the center is going to start Stork, right? He's got concussed.
I would be. I think Wendell ends up starting. Who normally they're starting guard. Wendell ends up starting at center instead of Stork.
The point I would make about it is you got 3 younger guys on the inside, and one of the things that you want to do to attack a Brady is be able to get up the middle, try to move him off a spot. Because he certainly didn't look like he was capable of scrambling much. He's got great feet and vision in the pocket. But if you make him tuck and run, he does not look all that swift nor athletic, I should say.
You talked about Ben, ball coming out between 1.8 and 2.2. Well, that's Brady all the time.
Right.
if you watch him on shotgun, he takes the shotgun snap at 5 yards. He takes 2 steps, so he's at 7 yards, and the ball back foot hits. Boom, ball's out.
Right.
Ball's out. When everything is, he's looking for the matchup he wants. He's going to go to the soft coverage every time, and where he sees the soft coverage, that's what he's going to take. When you look at his wide receivers, Edelman and Amendola, those guys work really hard to get open. I mean, if they're covered initially, they don't just quit and say, I'm covered. They work to get open because they know that if he's got the time, Brady, he's going to find him.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because this is going to be a clash of titans. I'm excited. I can't wait to go there. All right, that is your pregame meal. The next live taping of the show is going to be Friday, September 18th, again at 12:30 right here at the Cadillac Ranch, Settlers Ridge in Robinson. We'll pregame meal the San Francisco 49ers, my friend. I want to thank Chad and all the staff here at Cadillac Ranch. It's been great. What do you say, Chaluch?
As my dad used to say, that's all what it is.
Right here on the Craig Wolfley Podcast.